So number one is progress. Every human being seeks progress. This young lady was after progress. I wanted to overcome my fear of the cold because I knew it would help me with my progress. We all seek progress, but we don't just seek it in one area. We don't just seek it financially or in health. We seek it across the board. I'm talking physical, mental, personal, professional. But not only that, we not only seek progress, personal progress for ourselves, but we also want to contribute to the lives of other people. We want to see them make progress too. If you're a parent, you want to see your kids progress. If you're, in the professional world, you want to see your teams progress. If you're in the service industry, you want to see your service make a difference in the lives of others. So if you want to punish a human being, right, you put them in jail, you take them away from relationships. And if you want to punish them further in jail, you take them away from those relationships and put them in solitary confinement. We don't work well alone because we want to contribute to people's lives. So that's progress. Number two is courage. To make the greatest progress in your life, you got to face the greatest issue in your life. Because when you do, it frees up the greatest amount of real estate in your brain. And to do that requires courage. Most individuals who I work with, who I coach, when we make a list of all their issues, they usually want to avoid that sensitive one, that big one. But I say to them, look, if you face your biggest issue, you'll make the greatest amount of progress. You'll take a quantum leap forward if you have the courage to face it. And when we do, I see it time and time again in the last 21 years coaching people. I not only see their progress in health, I see the progress in their business, I see the progress in their finances, in their personal life, and their professional life. Number three is leverage. Beneath the labels of stress and struggle and issue and challenge and problem and difficulty, beneath those labels sits fear. I believe that fear sits at the center of every problem, as a component of every problem. But fear also stands tall at the center of every solution if you know how to leverage it. You leverage your greatest fear. You make the greatest difference in your life. And that's why I'm all about fear setting over goal setting. Next is emotion. Traditionally, when you think about fear, we're taught that we fear the unknown or fear of uncertainty. Although fear is, as Napoleon Hill said, the most costly of human emotions, fear is nevertheless an emotion. And like all emotions, in order to generate that emotion of fear, there's got to be substance in the mind. There has to be information in the mind. I was sharing this with the person sitting next to me on an airplane when I flew to Qatar. And he said to me, well, what if I flew an airplane for the first time? How could I be afraid of, how could I have some substance in the mind if I've never flown before? I don't know what to expect. It's fear of the unknown. It's unknown territory for me. I said, no, you might be afraid of, something happening to you, which, or has some content or what we call substance information in the mind. You may be afraid of being far from your family, that kind of thing that has some relevance in the mind. Okay? Next is history. So if we don't fear the unknown, then we fear the known. And the known, of course, is your past, your history. I was afraid of the cold because I didn't want to re-experience the cold. This gal that was afraid of, outshining her disabled brother, that came from history. And you're going to be shocked when I share with you how far back we actually went. It's almost unfathomable. So we don't fear the unknown. We fear history repeating itself. Number 6 is judgment. Specific experiences that you've judged as being negative, unwanted, a mistake, whatever negative labels you pin on it, that judgment is what creates your fear, because as you would expect, anything you've labeled as negative will be something you naturally seek to avoid repeating. And that's why anything that resembles your past and that specific negative experience, you want to run the other way. So anyone who's triggering you right now at the office, and this is how I transform corporate teams, is we look at who the triggers are in the office. And I say, okay, anyone who's triggering you in the office, in the workplace, it really has nothing to do with them and everything to do with what they remind you of your past. What we seek is to cancel people, to divorce people, to cut people out of our lives who are, quote, negative or unwanted. But the truth is, it has nothing to do with them. Besides, that's not a very practical way to live. You can't divorce, everyone in your life. You can't divorce your children and your family. And there's some relationships you can't walk away from. Like, for example, maybe some of your coworkers. You don't pick them, like you don't pick your family. Next is experiences. So the judgments you have were either experiences that you had firsthand. So somebody afraid of swimming because they nearly drowned once. That's a firsthand experience. So it's experiences you've had firsthand or experiences that you've had through the eyes of others. In other words, you witnessed it, you read about it, you heard about it, or you watched it on television or in some video. And the fear came from that. I had one gentleman, I'm not kidding you. He was afraid of swimming. And we traced it back to when he was 4 years old. He was hiding behind the lazy boy. When his parents told him to go to bed, he stayed up and he was peeking behind the lazy boy and he was watching the movie Jaws. And ever since then, he's had fear of swimming, as you can imagine. Number 8 is story. So it's not just the experience that we've had, firsthand, directly, or through the eyes of others indirectly. It's the story we're telling ourselves. The story might be that divorces are nasty and they impact our children in some negative way, and that's why I'm afraid of it. It's the story, the narrative we have that's really driving this whole process. Although you can't change your past, you can change the effect it has on you. And the way you do that is you change the story, you change the narrative you've been telling yourself about the past. And by doing so, you rewrite the story. And by rewriting the past, rewriting your history, you rewrite your future. Number 9 is perspective. When you have labeled something as negative, you judged it, some experience you've labeled as negative, and you have this story that you're carrying around with you, right? You have an incomplete perspective because the story is capturing the negative aspects of the experience. But the truth is your brain, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you like it or not, is actually capturing the positive aspects of that experience. So the memories store the negative aspects of an experience, of a judgment you've had, so that when something resembles it, you know to avoid it, right? It's self-preservation, really. But it keeps us stuck unless we can honor the positive aspects that are also found in that experience that we're unconscious to. And I want you to think of perspective like a puzzle. If you take all the negative aspects of an experience and take all the positive aspects of an experience and put them together like a puzzle, you now have a complete perspective. And when you complete your perspective, you've turned an experience that you once labeled as negative to a neutral experience. And not only do you clear the emotion of fear, but you free yourself in the future to be and to act as you would love and to take on opportunities that you would otherwise avoid. Number 10, questions. We need to question our questions. If we ask ourselves, why did this happen to me? Why me? Why now? How could this person do this to me? It keeps you stuck. If you can shift your questions, you literally, like I said, you rewrite your future. You pave your path forward. And you're no longer run by the experiences and the trail that you've left behind. You got to question your questions.